Rich girl is found digging through a restaurant's trash, and the owner sees her. He couldn't believe what he saw when he went after her. The owner of a nice restaurant sees a little girl digging through the trash near his business. He decided to follow the little girl because she was dressed nicely. What he found made him cry. The restaurant's owner, Simone James Sinclair, told his head chef, "Make sure the leftovers go in the trash can behind the restaurant." The chef agreed. Mr. Sinclair told his staff to put any leftovers in a special trash can in the back of the restaurant. This trash can was put there so that homeless people could use it at the end of each business day. He did it because he had seen a group of homeless people outside his restaurant asking strangers for food and not getting any help. Mr. Sinclair was about to go home one night when he saw a well-dressed little girl digging through the pile of trash. She was wearing a pretty dress and shoes that went with it, which is not what a typical homeless girl would wear. I don't think she's homeless or even a child in need. What does she look like? Having a look at the pile of leftovers? As he became suspicious of the little girl, Mr. Sinclair's thoughts went all over the place. He wanted to talk to her, but he had to rush because he had work to finish before it got too late. Mr. Sinclair noticed that the girl came to the restaurant often because she came back every day. She would come with a big bag and put leftovers in it before running away. Mr. Sinclair couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen, so he decided to follow the girl. One day, he slowly followed her in his car as she skipped through the streets with the big bag of food. A few minutes later, she turned down a street that was too narrow for Mr. Sinclair's car to pass. He got out of the car and followed the girl as she walked. Suddenly, the girl stopped in front of an empty house. She left the bag of food on the doorstep, rang the doorbell, and ran away from the house. Mr. Sinclair wanted to know who would come out of the house, so he hid behind a wall and waited for someone to open the door. 10 minutes had gone by, and no one had answered the door. They must have thought that no one was home. He got up and began to leave. Then, a little boy with a dog came out of the house. He was wearing dirty clothes and was very weak. He took some food out of the bag and gave it to his dog. "Wow, Scoobs, we brought you a lot of food today." Before he went inside, he said with happiness. They wanted to know who the boy was and why the little girl brought him food every day. When Mr. Sinclair saw the little girl at his restaurant again, he decided to talk to her. "Good morning, young lady, I see that you came over here to get some leftovers for a boy and his dog." He asked her in a soft voice, "What's your name?" She answered shyly, "My name is Annie, and you don't mind if I take some food for Archie, do you? I buy him and his dog food because no one else cares for them." Mr. Sinclair asked Annie, "Does Archie not have any parents or grandparents who can take care of him?" He was getting worried. Annie shook her head. "His family died in a fire, and no one helped him. No one else in the neighborhood wants to play with him. So I help him out and play with him sometimes." She talked back. "Why don't you tell your parents about Archie, Annie? They may be able to help him." Again, Mr. Sinclair said. Annie shook her head. "I don't know what Mom will do when she finds out," she said. "The other day, I saw my friend's mom yell at her for helping a stranger, and I don't want that to happen to me," she told me. Annie said that she suddenly felt at ease around Mr. Sinclair. "You realize? Archie's dog was sick last week. I was afraid he would die and leave Archie alone, but it's a good thing that he didn't. Nothing bad happened, and he got better." Mr. Sinclair asked Annie if she knew that giving them leftovers could also make them sick. "Some facilities provide care for pets. We can send him there, and Archie also needs good care. He told me that he looked very weak when he saw him." "Where would they go, though?" Annie asked out of interest. "Well, for starters, there are homes for orphaned and foster children. Archie has a good chance of having a good life there if we send him there," Mr. Sinclair explained, and Annie quickly shook her head to say she didn't agree. "No, we can't treat him that way. Archie said that he used to live in an orphanage. He left because they were mean to him. We can't send it back, so I'll think of something else. I think it would be good for Archie." Mr. Sinclair began by saying. Annie listened carefully, and then Mr. Sinclair asked her to come with him. They went into his restaurant, and while Annie was eating, he gave her some cookies and milk. He called his journalist mother and told her Annie's story about how she helped Archie. A week later, a moving story about how a 10-year-old girl helped a homeless orphan boy was written in the newspaper. When Annie's parents read the article and learned that their daughter did that for the boy, they were so proud. The proud parents then told Annie that they would have helped Archie if she had told them about him earlier. But it wasn't too late, and they decided to do just that. Before social services was going to take Archie away, Annie's mom, Jean, decided to adopt him. Jean had always wanted Annie to have a younger brother, but after giving birth to Annie, she could no longer get pregnant. She thought that God was giving her another child, so she was happy to take Archie in. Annie's father agreed to the plan, and a month later, 8-year-old Archie and his abdominal dog Scoobs officially joined their family. What does this story teach us? At such a young age, Annie chose to be kind even though it didn't cost her anything. She didn't expect anything in return. Adults should think like children, who see the best in everyone and everything, and believe that everything happens for a reason. Even though sometimes things don't make sense, Annie met Archie at a time in their lives when she was supposed to help him and end up with a younger brother. They are a part of something bigger.